Harper Audio presents The Reagan Diaries, edited by Douglas Brinkley, abridged by Joseph Cummins, read for you by Eric Conger. Copyright 2007 by the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library Foundation. Production copyright 2007 by HarperCollins Publishers. Please note that the words hell and damn are not fully spelled out in the text. Introduction by Douglas Brinkley. When I was first asked to edit President Ronald Reagan's diaries, I was, of course, flattered and excited, not to mention terribly curious. What would I find? Would the real Reagan finally emerge from the man's personal journals? How would the diaries alter perceptions of his White House tenure? To my knowledge, only 4 presidents other than Ronald Reagan maintained written diaries on a consistent basis: George Washington, John Quincy Adams, James K. Polk, and Rutherford B. Hayes. Others like Harry Truman and Dwight Eisenhower kept them sporadically. Reagan had never kept a diary before entering the White House, which was something he and Nancy later regretted. The Sacramento years flew by so quickly, "We both wish we had kept diaries," she would tell friends. But the kids were younger then, and we just didn't seem to have time. Reagan made a serious commitment to maintaining one as president, starting with his inauguration on January 20th, 1981. Unlike so many new diarists who trail off after the first few weeks, he took his task seriously. And in 8 years, he never neglected a daily entry, except when he was in the hospital. When I first saw the White House diaries at the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library in Simi Valley, California, I was astounded. Lined up on a research table, all 5 volumes resemble a handsome half-set of encyclopedias. For a moment I just looked at them. In physical appearance, the diaries were hardcover books, 8.5 by 11, bound in maroon and brown leather, with the presidential seal embossed on the center of the front and the name Ronald Wilson Reagan in gold lettering at the bottom right. No words appeared on the spines. The inside cover boards all had elegant designs, with intertwined brown autumnal leaves or swirling red-blue-beige paisley or some other exquisite pattern. Within the pages themselves, you see immediately that Reagan had neat, rounded handwriting done in ink that is variously blue or black. It is a welcoming script, easy to read. Crossouts are rare. Economical to the core, Reagan filled every page to the very bottom. Occasionally, he inserted auxiliary material into the diary pages: comic photographs, a picture of a young child wearing a Reagan straw hat, or newspaper clippings pertaining to U.S. soldiers killed abroad. Reagan was a master of the art of summary. As an orator, he was known to keep notes in shorthand on cards that he kept in his breast pocket. He wrote in the diary in a similar fashion. The very act of composition helped him organize his thoughts, as it had since his boyhood. Over the decades, he wrote his own speeches, radio broadcasts, and newspaper columns. He once claimed that the creative act gave him great clarity. As president, he made the time to write or revise many of his own speeches. He answered his own mail. "You specified that you wanted to hear from me personally," Reagan wrote a citizen from the White House in 1981. "So here I am." He enjoyed reading books of all sorts, if the writing was inspiring. To judge by the liveliness of many diary entries, from the first to the very last, keeping a daily log was for Reagan anything but a chore. Nancy Reagan explains that her husband kept the diaries in his second-floor White House study next to their bedroom. When traveling, he'd bring a volume with him, often writing while on Air Force One. "We just wanted a way to capture the moment and our feelings before we were whisked on to the next day," Nancy explained, "so we could savor it a little more." For several years after their return to California, the Reagans would often sit together in their den after dinner, reading aloud from their diaries and reminiscing about their White House years. As soon as I started reading the daily entries the president had written, I could almost hear his voice. It was Reagan circa the 1980s. The
Sample complete. Ready to continue?